Elasticity in Cloud Computing. Case Study, Sudan Electronic Passport Cloud Computing. Abstract cloud computing is a new technology which managed by a third-party cloud provider to provide the clients with services anywhere, at any time, and under various circumstances. In order to provide clients with cloud resources and satisfy their needs, cloud computing employs virtualization and resource provisioning techniques. The process of providing clients with shared virtualized resources, hardware, software, and platform. One of types of cloud computing is private cloud is a computing model that offers a proprietary environment dedicated to a single business entity. The ePassport private cloud computing is one of the first private cloud computing in Sudan. In this paper we study the migration of electronic passport, ePassport, data center from a traditional physical data center to a highly elastic virtual data center using virtual technology, hypervisor. We followed elasticity in ePassport cloud computing through explain the concept of virtual data center, private cloud, cloud computing service models, virtualization, and explain the ePassport cloud components. We made a comparison between the physical electronic passport data center and the virtual electronic passport data center, the ePassport private cloud computing, in terms of elements, number of servers, number of processors, size of RAM and downtime. Finally we monitor the comparison result to clarify the extent in elasticity when transition to ePassport cloud computing. Keywords, virtualization, cloud computing, data center. 1. Introduction. Cloud computing has been gaining more popularity in the last decade and has received a great deal of attention from both industrial and academic worlds. The main factor motivating the use of cloud platforms is the ability to provide resources according to the customer's needs or what is referred to as elastic provisioning and deprovisioning. Therefore, elasticity is one of the key features in cloud computing that dynamically adjusts the amount of allocated resources to meet changes in workload demands. The idea of cloud computing is based on a very fundamental principle of reusability of IT capabilities. The difference that cloud computing brings compared to traditional concepts of grid computing, distributed computing, utility computing, or autonomic computing is to broaden horizons across organizational boundaries. In this study the vertical scaling methodology in the Ministry of Interior, ePassport section by tries to examine the applied elasticity models for ePassport cloud systems to cope with the varying workloads, storage space, application, memory, users, etc., is proposed. Virtualization occurs when a virtual version of something is created instead of an actual version. The combination of hardware and software engineering that creates virtual machines, VMS, and enables multiple operating systems to run on the same platform. In the field of information technology, the fundamental change happening all over is obviously cloud computing. Virtualization in computing is creation of virtual, not real, of virtual something such as hardware, software, platform, or an operating system or storage or a network device. 19. In a virtualized environment IT enterprise has to adopt and manage many changes as the virtual environment if born to quick changes as compared to that of the physical environment. Because of virtualization clouds are scalable and agile. Virtualization can also be defined as a technology that has the capability of logically separating the physical resources of a server and use them as different isolated machines, called virtual machines. The single CPU becomes many virtual CPUs, and the RAMs become many virtual RAMs, and same becomes the case for hard disks. Virtualization 2021-22-23 is a technique which allows to create abstract layer of system resources and hides the complexity of hardware and software working environment. Virtualization enhances hardware independence, isolation of guest operating system and encapsulation of entire virtual machine grouped in a one file. Virtualization is commonly implemented with Hypervisor 2425 technology, which is a software or firmware elements that can virtualize a system resources. In this paper we follow and address the concept and the application of elasticity and study elasticity in cloud computing state of virtualization in Ministry of Interior ePassport section in cloud computing through explaining the concept of private cloud, ePassport cloud components, cloud modes, full virtualization, storage, and its database. We try to explain the applied elasticity models for ePassport cloud when increased storage space, application, memory, users, etc. Also we examine and monitoring ePassport cloud to test access time from a side to the data center, the time down for server. The objective of the research is to explain the ePassport cloud components and addressing the concept of full virtualization along with the concept of virtual machine life cycle. Also to study the elasticity in ePassport cloud computing. 2. Methodology. To deploy the elasticity solutions, one or hybrid of the following methods is implemented: horizontal scaling, vertical scaling. Horizontal elasticity allows adding new instances, while vertical elasticity, referred to as fine-grained resource provisioning, allows resizing the resources of the instance itself to cope with the runtime demand. The instances can be VMS, containers, or application modules. Horizontal and vertical techniques have their advantages and shortcomings. Horizontal elasticity is simple to implement and it is supported by hypervisors. It has been widely adopted by many commercial providers. However, horizontal elasticity can lead to inefficient utilization of the resources due to the fact that it provides fixed or static instances, which sometimes cannot fit exactly with the required demand. On the contrary, vertical elasticity allows resizing the instances, but it is not fully supported by all hypervisors, although new hypervisors such as Xen, VMware support it. Vertical scaling is the process of modifying resources, CPU, memory, storage, or both, size for an instance at runtime. It gives more flexibility for the cloud systems to cope with the varying workloads. There are many works that only focus on CPU vertical resizing, other works, and focus on memory resizing. It is worth noting that there have been many techniques used in literature for memory resizing such as EMA, page faults, ballooning. While there exist some proposals that control both resources, CPU, memory is a particular work that not only controls both resources, CPU, memory, but also coordinates the degree of vertical resizing of the CPU in relation to the memory. Proposes mechanism to resize CPU, disk, and memory. Profitbricks and RightScale cloud providers offer this feature to their customers. In this study we propose the vertical scaling methodology in the Ministry of Interior, ePassport section by try to examine the applied elasticity models for ePassport cloud systems to cope with the varying workloads, storage space, application, memory, users, etc. 3 results. Achieving high scalability in virtualized data centers requires address spaces that support large number of tenants and their VMS. Furthermore, since today's commodity switches often have limited memory size, it is necessary to keep the table 1 SHOWS the maximum number of tenants, VMS per tenant, and the size of the forwarding table. The maximum numbers of tenants and VMS depend mainly on the number of bits used to identify tenants and VMS. For discussion and conclusion. The application section of this study examined the elasticity in cloud computing and virtualization, and the following elements were included. The state of virtualization in Ministry of Interior ePassport section. ePassport cloud components. Cloud modes. Full virtualization. Storage and its database. Applied elasticity models for ePassport cloud when increased storage space. Application. Clustering. Memory. Sharing memory. Users. Permissions distribution. Cloud access time. Virtual machine life cycle. Performance and availability. The major contributions of this research are summarized as: we proposed a precise definition of elasticity in the Ministry of Interior ePassport section, and we highlighted the related concepts to elasticity in such as scalability and efficiency and approaches to measure elastic systems. Also we provide an extended classification for the elasticity mechanisms according to the configuration, the scope of the solution, purpose, mode, method, etc. Finally we discussed the existing container technologies and their relation to cloud elasticity. 5. Recommendation. By the end of this study the researcher recommend the next researchers and the practitioners to vSphere latest version is vSphere 7.0. Include some features as follow. No more Flash-based vSphere web client. No more external PSC, Platform Services Controller. No more VMware vCenter for Windows. No more Update Manager plugin. No more VNC server in ESXi. No more vFlash Read Cache, VFRC. VMware vSphere 7.0 and TLS protocol, TLS 1.0 and 1.1 are disabled by default. SAN storage latest version, Hope 3 PAR 9000. Capacity 6000 TB maximum, depending on model. Drive description SFF SAS enclosures, 48, 3 PAR 9000 SFF SAS drive enclosure maximum, depending on model. Maximum drives per enclosure 24. Empower data at the speed of memory with the industry's first Tier 1 storage with storage class memory, SCM, and NVMe. Eliminate storage networking bottlenecks and accelerate performance for all flash with new HPE 3 PAR 32GB FC. Reduce troubleshooting and management. The Apaches with Hope InfoSight Advanced Performance Analytics, available in HOPESM 3.4 Management Console.